Crosshatching, a social language of power, memory, and belonging. Across the documents gathered here, one visual gesture keeps returning. Line crossing line, a field made from repeated cuts, scratched diamonds, grids, herringbone bands, and dense lattices over bodies, vessels, plaques, and maps of memory. This documentary is about crosshatching as a motif, not as a single universal word, and not as a code that can be solved with one translation, but as a social language of emphasis. In these records, crosshatching often says, "This surface is not ordinary. This being, this object, this place, or this story has been set apart." The strongest reading in the uploaded crosshatching report is careful and comparative. Crosshatching is not one fixed sign. It is context dependent. In one setting it marks a being as charged with power. In another it points toward water, serpents, depth, or a lower world. In still another, it works as a structured fill inside a mnemonic sign system. The important point is that meaning belongs to people, places, ceremonies, and communities. The lines are not decoration alone. They are visual pressure. They make a form present, active, and socially marked. At Garden Creek and Mount Pisgah in Haywood County, North Carolina, the documents repeatedly separate two questions that must not be confused. The site is real, a native mound, village, burial, and ceremonial landscape. But the object-level status of the Valentine era carved and ceramic corpus remains unresolved and contested. The catalog itself warns us not to use the images as proof of age, origin, or tribal affiliation. That caution makes the art more interesting, not less. It asks us to look closely without pretending that looking is the same as proving. In the Garden Creek catalog, the marks form a vocabulary of surfaces. There are crosshatch lattices, diagonal lattices, herringbone bands, parallel fluting, pit and ring eyes, nested triangles, running scrolls, sunbursts, rectilinear frets, edge notching, and banded fills. On bare form effigies, diagonal hatching, and cross-hatching coverbacks, and haunches. On bird and waterfowl forms, fluting and herringbone patterns travel across bodies. On turtles and other zoomorphic forms, diamond fields sit on shell-like backs. The pattern cuts across animal classes, which means it cannot be reduced to fur, feathers, or scales. It is a shared graphic behavior. That shared behavior is why the camel or llama-like Mount Pisgah figure matters. In the Mount Pisgah report, the humped, cross-hatched quadruped is treated as a possible composite symbolic being rather than a simple zoological drawing. Early commentator A. H. Keane thought the form might resemble a Bactrian camel, but he also cautioned that it might more probably be intended for a llama. Later criticism by Charles Rowe made the Old World animal problem central to the authenticity dispute. The current research position is more careful. A camel-like or llama-like image may weaken a strictly pre-contact interpretation, but it does not by itself prove deliberate fraud. Old World animal knowledge could have moved through post-contact Cherokee, African diasporic, trader, missionary, printed, or oral channels. The key question is when, by whom, and under what circumstances the object entered the assemblage. The cross-hatching on that figure is important, but it is not a magic answer. It supports a reading of intentional design, charged surface, and possible clan-linked or protective power. It does not by itself prove age, ethnicity, Asian influence, or authenticity. The Ricci Map research lead is treated the same way. Reports of humped animals on the Ricci Map are most plausibly about humped oxen or bison, not direct evidence for a camel at Garden Creek. The Fend-to-La or Fend-to County lead is also a research question, not a conclusion. The strongest next steps are material testing, microscopic toolmark study, petrography, high-resolution imaging, and chain of custody review. Now the comparison widens. In the Great Lakes and My Day We Win materials, cross-hatched bodies appear among serpents, felines, horned animals, ritual figures, pipes, drums, rattles, paths, and lodge-like spaces. These are not casual sketches. The medicine scroll framework belongs to trained ceremonial systems, where objects, songs, diagrams, and mnemonic signs carry instruction and authority. In that world, a crosshatched body can plausibly mark a being as powerful, dangerous, transformed, or spirit-laden. The lines make the body active. They turn the figure into a presence. Cahokia offers one of the clearest comparative examples. The Birdman tablet is described in the documents as a three-world image: bird, human, and crosshatched reverse. There the crosshatching is explicitly tied to the lower world, and another interpretation links it to snakeskin. This does not mean every crosshatched figure everywhere is the same thing. But it shows why serpents, water beings, panthers, horns, scales, and lattice-filled bodies belong in the same symbolic conversation. Crosshatching can be a way of giving visible form to depth, water, danger, transformation, and sacred power. The Book of Wild Comparisons shift the focus again. There, hatch-like elements appear inside ovals, brids, wave-filled forms, and grouped line bundles. Those marks behave less like animal skin, and more like patterned interiors inside a graphic inventory. The lesson is subtle. Crosshatching is not always a body mark. Sometimes it is a way to make a bounded sign feel full, organized, or activated. A blank oval is one thing. A barred, gridded, or wave-filled oval is another. The interior tells the viewer that the sign has weight. The Yolngu material from Northern Australia brings the social meaning of crosshatching into sharp focus. The term Minichi does not appear in the public record as the name of a single clan. It means ancestral design, painting, color, or clan design. Each Yolngu clan has its own Minichi. These designs are inherited property tied to country, songs, dances, names, ceremony, law, and ancestral events. The report emphasizes that the patterns are not merely decorative. They distinguish one clan from another, one place from another, and one set of responsibilities from another. In Yolngu art, fine crosshatching is often discussed with the idea of shimmer or brilliance, a visual energy that can make ancestral power seem to move across the surface. The uploaded infographic calls crosshatching a language of clan identity, country, ceremony, songlines, law, land rights, and spiritual power. That is an essential social symbolic point. A design can be beautiful, but it can also be owned, inherited, restricted, taught, defended, and used as evidence of relationship to land and sea. Pattern becomes law made visible. From Garden Creek to the Great Lakes, from Cahokia to Arnhem Land, the safest synthesis is not that all crosshatching comes from one source. It is that human societies repeatedly use dense line systems to mark what matters. Lines can show identity, protection, ritual office, spiritual charge, ancestral presence, memory, exchange, and authority. They can transform an animal into a guardian, a vessel into a ceremonial object, a surface into a map of relationship, or a sign into a container of knowledge. But this documentary also keeps the cautions visible. Pattern is not automatically script. A motif is not proof of provenance. A resemblance is not a migration route. A social symbol must be read with community, context, materials, and history. The Garden Creek catalog says the objects are cataloged as form, not deciphered as words. The Mount Pisgah report says the Kamalama figure deserves testing, not overclaiming. The Minichi report says the term points to clan designs, not an independent Minichi clan. These cautions protect the meaning from being forced. So what is crosshatching, in the end? It is a visual way of saying that something has an inside. It may be the inside of a being, a clan, a law, a ceremony, a place, a memory, or an unresolved archaeological question. It asks the viewer to slow down. It says that the surface has been worked, claimed, charged, and made visible by human intention. In that sense, crosshatching is not just a motif. It is a social act. It draws relation into matter. Crosshatching. Not one code, but a family of marks for power, identity, place, and memory.